Hey everyone, thank you so much for clicking on this video. Today is very, very exciting. I'm going to be interviewing the author behind the book, The Cured Rebirth, and that is Enricoh Alfonzo. This is another South African author. Incredibly excited to be interviewing him. If you are wanting to know about a few other South African releases, then you can click on the little button that just appeared up above. But guys, this is a novel that I am very, very excited to read. I haven't been able to read it yet, but just from the description alone and from the promotional material that I have read, this one is going to be a roller coaster. A brief description of the book from memory is that we follow a 15-year-old boy who happens to get stage 4 cancer. But with his knowledge of biology is able to find a cure. But now he's noticing that there's a lot of side effects to this cure. And ultimately he has to ask himself the question, does he save the world or does he save his love? So it's incredibly exciting. Today we're going to be interviewing the author. So let's just jump right into it. Hey man, thank you so much for joining. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, Caleb. It's really awesome connecting with you. And yeah, I'm really honored that you chose me to actually interview. Thank you.
Cool. So guys, I just actually really need to point out now, if you look at Enricoh, you can see how he's going to be doing this throughout the whole interview. And that's because we're trying to find where our lenses are. So it looks like we're looking towards each other. But his face is over there for me. And I'm like in his bottom right-hand corner.
Exactly.
Yeah. So if you see us wondering, it's just because we don't know where to look.
Yeah. And I don't know why they don't make a webcam that somehow is like eye level. Because it always has to be at the top of your screen, you know?
But actually, just first, let's just clear up some potential confusion. So Enricoh Alfonzo, what's the correlation there?
Okay, well, so my mom was really eccentric when she was naming me, and I guess she was obsessed with Italian and Spanish names, so she came up with Enricoh, but with the H at the end, and then Alfonzo as my second name. And I kind of want to make my second name my legacy, so it's like I'm gonna start my own sort of surname.
But honestly, again, thank you so much for joining. And would you actually just give us a little bit of a breakdown about your book, The Cured Rebirth?
Awesome. Okay. So the punchline of this, or the tagline of the book, is that a teen discovers a cure for cancer, and he has to basically make the ultimate choice, which is either he saves his love or he saves the world. You know, so it's quite dicey there. And yeah, man, and it's also a superhero fantasy, so you also get to enjoy some of the superhero elements and how, well, it's an origin story, right? So you basically get to go through that kind of sort of storyline on how a character sort of discovers and starts. It's an escape. I would love it for it to be an escape for people who have suffered from cancer. And just get into a world that cancer is cured, you know? And it's also a hope that it might happen someday.
Yeah. So what actually inspired you to tackle such a unique, interesting topic? Because it's a very niche idea. I know, like, we've always spoken about, like, oh, this cure for cancer, but why did you decide to make that the entire crux and storyline of your novel?
Well, I remember at the time, and I usually have these thoughts where I'm either watching something or something is happening in my life, and I'll always be like, what if? I'm literally the Marvel what if, that's me, with like everything. So like, I think I was watching either Fault in Our Stars or something about cancer. And I was just like, yeah, this is so emotional, and I'm getting so like invested in the story and sad about it. But like, what if there was a story where cancer was actually cured? Because I haven't read that. And I've read a lot of books, and I haven't read any kind of story. It's always cyclic, you know, that's sort of the genre that it falls under, where it's romance mixed with a character that's dying. So I was like, what if we have that, but then we also have the element of it's getting cured, you know? And I also had the sideline of what if the cure actually did something else over and above that, sort of change things in a different way or change the game. And yeah, that's sort of what I was thinking. And then the weird thing is that I had this one scene in my head, Caleb. It was just there every single night when I went to bed. It wouldn't leave me alone, and I kept playing the scene over and over in my head. And yeah, one night I was just like, I'm done. I have to at least put something down on paper. And I don't even know how to say this, but the weirdest thing is that scene actually ended up becoming chapter 20 in the book. So somehow Enrico got from chapter 1 to chapter 20 before he even wrote the scene that was stuck in his head. So don't even ask me how I did that, but I did. I came up with characters on the fly. I came up with storylines on the fly. I came up with emotions on the fly, and then I got to chapter 20.
I know I sent you some questions like that I was going to ask you, but you've actually just, got me curious. I want to ask you, I'm going to throw in a surprise question for you. But what was your actual writing process? What did you ever go back and rewrite stuff? Did you do specific drafts? Did you ever just throw away entire chapters? What was your actual writing process to finally get to chapter 20?
Yeah, I think I'm the last person on the planet that would ever throw away a chapter or summarize anything. I think that's my biggest nightmare, is summarizing anything or shortening anything. And that's why you got 375 pages just of me writing, because I don't know short story and I don't know word limits. I just know whatever I can write. So I literally just flew through that thing. I didn't plan out characters. I didn't plan out world building. I had the premise in my head. What if the world was cured of cancer? Didn't even have the character's name, man. I just jumped into the story. I think I Googled some baby names and I sort of came up with, hey, this isn't actually a dude's name that I actually like. And there's so many different ways you can even say it. So like one of the things is that in the beginning of the book, he's called, Will or William. But then in the second half of the book, he's actually called Liam, which is kind of cool. But again, I didn't plan that. It was just, they call it plotting or pantsing, and I literally pantsed through the whole book. I mean, it was a daydream, man. I can't even tell you specific processes or what was those things, mind maps. I didn't make none of
that. Well, then I have to ask you, we've spoken about how this is such an incredibly unique topic, but I want to know, were there any ever situations where you drew from real life experience or situations?
No, so the reason or the whole inspiration for this book was my gran, Ruby Naidoo. She actually was diagnosed with cancer, breast cancer, quite a while ago now. I think it was almost 10 years ago. And it was back when I was still in campus and I could take the Wits shuttle to go see her, at Donald Gordon's. It was kind of cool every time she had chemo. And she beat it, man. She was so powerful, she beat it. And she went into remission for like 5 years. So we had that cure. We thought we had that cure that entire time. And she was sorted for life. She was just going to be in our lives. And unfortunately, she got cancer again. So it wasn't even the first cancer. She got a whole different cancer. I don't even know how that's possible, how one person can have 2 cancers in one lifetime. But yeah, just going through all of that and the suffering and the pain, I just wanted to escape it. The way that I escape into other books. And unfortunately, The Fault in Our Stars has this sort of saying. It says, pain demands to be felt. And so I couldn't go into that world where, the person actually, well, I don't want to give spoilers for that book, but the person actually passed away from cancer. So it was a really sucky thing. And I was like, I want a book where there's no death. There's just a cure for cancer. And yeah, that's the sort of inspiration that I drew from. And she just had such a zest for life, man. If physical passion and exuberance for life could be converted into the elixir, that would be her. You could bottle that and make that the cure, man. So yeah, that was sort of the inspiration, and I dedicated the book to her.
I think a lot of people can relate to what you've gone through. I lost my grandfather to cancer as well, so it's a It's a hectic one. And I know like one of my big irrational fears personally is cancer. And like every so often, like if I've got a little, I'm like, I hope that's a new mole. Yeah. So I know I can relate to that, and I know a lot of your readers will be able to as well. I think the novel itself is going to be such a great form of escapism because of that very thing.
Thank you. I appreciate that, man. And condolences about your grandfather. I know how painful that can be.
But then, you know what? Let's make this a little bit more exciting, a little bit more happy. Were there any?
Okay, before you get into your question, let me ask you what you enjoyed about the trailer and the premise of the book.
You see, this is the thing for me that really stood out. Is it's such a unique concept. That is what stood out to me, and it was just this idea of like, because there's going to be a whole story with protagonists and with antagonists, and the fact that cancer and this cure for cancer is just a part of it. Like it's just something that is part of the story. It's not like that is the be all and end all. It's the crux. I don't know. I don't know if I'm getting my points across. It's just that is you've created a world that is so obviously so incredible and remarkable that the cure for cancer is just one of those things. It's not the thing. It's just a thing. So how incredibly remarkable must that world be?
Absolutely beautiful. I just want to read, just on that point, I just want to read this thing. This is the genre that I worked out for the book, right? It's young adult, science fiction, superhero fantasy, transhumanism. And there's romance in there. So there's a lot of genres happening in this book. And that's the whole thing with pantsing. Plotting would probably make it longer. But yeah, so you're right. There's a lot going on in that world apart from just the cancer thing,
And so then I want to take that then, because you've created such a unique work with so many moving parts, were there any other works of fiction, be that other novels, movies, or anything else, were there any other works of fictions that inspired you or you took inspiration from?
I have to give a shout out, of course, to Harry Potter. I mean, come on, dude. And anybody who tells you that it's not the greatest or there's other more important works of fiction, to me, it is literally the greatest work of fiction on the planet, right? And you will never change my mind. And the thing about that is when I was young, when I was in school, I didn't even read the first book. My mom brought home from the library the fourth book. So my first introduction to Harry Potter was The Goblet of Fire. And I was hooked. Even though I didn't have the premise of the first three books, I was hooked, hook, line, and sinker. And then the movie came out. So it was like, it just opened me up to this whole world. J.K. Rowling sort of gave me this platform to say, holy crap, I can be a writer. That's like an actual thing for an Indian kid from like the south of Johannesburg. That's like an actual thing. It's not like some kind of crazy thing to imagine. It's like a reality that can happen. So that opened my world to books, and I've been reading like crazy ever since. A couple of mentions would be Pickett's Law, the sort of number 4, I Am Number 4 series. Percy Jackson with Rick Riordan. I've loved those. So those sort of fiction, fantasy, and science fiction sort of books with superheroes, with characters with powers, all of those kinds of books are what I've loved, and I've loved growing up reading. Even the more adult genres with more graphic scenes and more potent storylines or more sort of violent characters, I still love those because, again, they had the supernatural or the superpowered elements. So that's sort of what I drew my sort of elements in the book from. But the origin story and the sort of way that I wrote the character William Scott is obviously a homage to us growing up with comic books, superheroes, that kind of thing.
There's a lot of influences. I have to say, like, as someone that, because we were talking again before this interview about fandoms and comics and everything like that. So it's just great to see someone that is as passionate as I am about this multifaceted comic book industry that has all of these different stories. But then you haven't just been an admirer of that. You've actually gone and created your own work of fiction as well, which is incredible because that takes you out of a step out of just being a fan and you're someone that's actually pursuing the passion behind it as well. So congrats, that's awesome.
Thank you, man. Hey, you've done it too with your weekly fundamentals and fundamentals. Am I saying that right? Yeah, fundamentals.
Yeah.
And your YouTube channel, dude. You've created art on your own, man, with or without publishing. You've done it so successfully for so long. So thank you for that, dude. I've loved your content.
Thank you, man. I really do appreciate that. So then, actually, let's take this one step further, because we're busy talking about how we've succeeded. But I want to know, what were the biggest obstacles you had to face before you got to this period of success? And that goes back from all the way from inception to publication. What were the big hurdles you had to face?
So I told you about that night that I woke up and I started writing, and I kind of never stopped because I think at that time, I wasn't working, so things were kind of slow. I had like nothing literally to do besides sort of put my everything into that. So it's like literally my baby. My soul went into it, and I just went crazy for like not even. It was like under 2 months. I've actually got the date tattooed at the back of my neck, and it was a month and a half or something. I went from like Feb to like March, which is crazy because I'm launching the book in March. I just realized this now. Wow. So I went from like Feb to March and I was done with the book. And then I sort of started reading up, what do I do now? I have this whole manuscript and I have no idea what to do with it because I didn't like grow up researching how to be an author, what to do with a book, all of those things, right? So I got online and people were saying, start a blog. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll start a damn blog, whatever the hell that is. I got that blog site website, and my sister was like, why don't you call it Alfonzo Words? So that sort of became my company. But yeah, during that time, I started the blog, and that went crazy. I didn't expect it, right, with social media. And I thought Twitter was just a legal way to stalk people. That was literally my perception of it. And now Twitter is literally like the world to me because I get most of my marketing deals off there. So it's crazy that all of that happened just because I wrote a book. Then the sort of nightmare began. So writing the book is honestly the easiest thing. The best, the most beautiful, the be all and end all for any author, I think, is writing the book, even just that first draft. But then come the edits, then come looking for an agent, then come looking for a publisher, then come trying to make your book sort of sellable, which is doing the summary, figuring out what genre it is, all of those things. So that was really difficult for me, man, especially putting myself out there and sending out all these query letters to agents to be like, this is what my book is. Literally, they only have like a page to read from the book and they must decide whether that's my future or not. So I had a whole spreadsheet. It was very organized. I sent out a lot of query lists. And I got back, even from publishers, I got back 120 plus rejections. So that hurt a lot. And the worst part is they're very generic. So they're not like how they were to previous or past authors where it was specific to what was wrong. It was mostly just a general letter to say, you're not what we're looking for. But I'm like, I researched you. You are the genres that publish the stuff that I've written. And you've published stories like this before. Maybe not exactly like this, but part of the stories you published. So I couldn't for the life of me understand now if they say that it's not the right time or it's not for them, then who do I go to? Because I was getting these rejections constantly through my emails. And then the worst part was when I gave it to people people's opinions that I actually valued, like authors that I knew, publishing houses that I was friends with, and also avid readers. So there was this one lady that loved every single book that I loved, that used to freak out about books that I loved. And then she read it and she just butchered me, man. She was like, I don't like this. It's not for me. I was frustrated. it was just so bad, and I felt so miserable. I was like, this is the end. This is a nightmare. I can't take this anymore. And I don't think if my gran hadn't sort of connected with me and empowered me the way that she did, with her sort of zest for life, with her passion for things and her strength, if she hadn't given me that, I would have never continued and finally got my book published the way that I wanted it to. So yeah, I mean, writing the book was the dream. It was everything. But then after writing was the nightmare of epic proportions, man. So those were sort of the obstacles that I faced, writing the query letters, getting them out. But I would like to say this, knowing now what I know, is that everybody has their own reading preferences. Everybody. Nobody is exactly the same. I could love Harry Potter, but if you give me another story that's similar to that, I might hate it. Or if you come and give me some period piece about Queen Elizabeth III and what she did in her life, I'm gonna be like, get away from me, you know? Put the cross and like, get away from me. And that could offend the person that's giving me the book because they're invested in it. They want someone who they know to like it, and that could offend them if I'm like, hey, whoa. But I think we just have to realize that other people have their own sort of preferences, and I can't expect everybody to love my book. I just have to find the ones that actually do love it and focus on that and not focus on the rejection people or the people that didn't see the vision.
This has always been a massive thing for me, is you never give up. Like that's what it is, especially if it's something that's a passion of yours, that's a dream of yours. You pursue it, you never give up. And I think that's exactly what you did. So like mad props, because the moment you give up, that's when your potential future completely shifts and changes. And never never for the better, because you've given up on something that makes you happy.
Well, okay, I do agree with that, but at the same time, I have to admit that there were times that I gave up, and that's why I thank my grand strength because she was there to reach out a hand with like no judgment and also no expectation. It wasn't like here's my hand, you have to take it. It was like you either take it, even if you fall off 2 weeks later, I won't judge you. You come back and you hold my hand, I will give you my strength. It was like that. That was how she was. There was absolutely, I could tell her that I want to be sort of a butler tomorrow. And she'd be like, you'll be the best butler on the planet. And I'm not like downsizing butler or even like a janitor or anything like that. I'm just saying that whatever I chose, she would be like, I'll pay for you to go to janitor school if you want. That's how she was. And it's just that even if you do give up, I don't think that's necessarily the end or the be all to end all, because you can always find your way back out. And I think that's the sort of leeway that you can give yourself is that, yes, you should be focused on never giving up or at least keep trying. But even if you do fail or even if you do give up, as long as there's that tiny piece of you, I'm telling you, like 95% of me wanted to give up at all times. But that 5% or that small percent always wanted to get out, and I always did the work to try and get out of it. So, if anything, I at least want to say that.
Second to last question. Spoilers, not spoilers, whatever, but do you have any juicy tidbits?
In this book, the cure sort of obviously cures the cancer cells, right? But the tidbit or sort of the way into the story is that it not only cures the cancer cells, it also strengthens them. So, that's the potential for making these patients smarter, faster, stronger. And the story sort of dives into that. So, again, my what if question in the beginning of all of this was what if cancer was cured, but it not only just cured them, it actually changed them into like a whole different thing. Right. And then the book just sort of goes into that. And then the one thing that I can say is that, and this might shock even my beta readers because I gave them the third draft of the book to read, for reviews, early reviews. And then when I was doing my final edits with the publisher, I changed it. I changed. I didn't take out any chapters, but all I did was I changed, I think, chapter 12 and 13 around. And that completely changed the story, especially if you're a first-time reader. You're either going to be like, how could you do that? Or what the hell is going on? You're either, so look out for chapter 12, because I really changed things around there. And I wish I could just, and I'm even going to tell my beta readers, please record yourself around chapter 11 and 12. I just want to see your face when you realize what I did.
So final question. What's next? How can potential readers find your book? Can they pre-order? Will it be in stores? Any future book signings you'll be doing? Anything like that? What's next?
Awesome. When I first got the book sample, so that's before the print run, so that's before you get publishers, you get the book sample, your author copies, which are those there, if you can see. And when I first got it, my niece actually had the cutest reaction. I didn't expect that. She came out and she saw my author, where it says about the author. She freaked out. She was like, Rico, that's Rico. It was just too cute, man. But yeah, just holding the book in my hand, I think it was the first time that I ever felt centered. So I've always felt like I don't know which curveball my next avenue in life was going to take me, or which career I was going to go on. But as soon as I had that book in my hand, man, I felt like an actual author. It wasn't like when I wrote the draft. It was when I had that physical book. It was like I finally was like, I don't care what I have to do with the rest of my life. I'm going to be an author. I'm going to be on my deathbed writing my last freaking story. That's what's next. So I'm going to be 60 still writing stories as if I'm a teenager too. It doesn't matter. I'm going to be that kind of author. And hey, if people want the second, because this is a planned trilogy, so hopefully if we get enough buzz, we can get the second one going. And I'm going to have to go reread my own book just to figure out all these characters and the storylines that I need to continue. But yeah, that's sort of what's next. And yeah, now, so for the book and where to get it and that kind of thing, on the 1st of March will be the official book launch. So it's going to be launched in like over 40,000 stores or something internationally. Barnes & Noble, Amazon, all the big stores. It's even going to be on Walmart. I don't even know how that happened. But yeah, it's going to be there. Locally, I worked at a deal, so I'm going to be sending out signed copies to people. And I've also got these awesome 3D printing models that I've done. So it's book rings, bookmarks that you're getting. I also have this thing. I can't show you right now, but it's actually, I don't know if you ever saw it. It's gamer chopsticks. So it fits on your little knuckles, so you don't have to mess your fingers. While they're reading, they could have that on and just like snack on whatever they want without messing their fingers or messing the books. So yeah, I'm going to be sending those out with signed copies, and we get to, with my courier partner, Drop Off Couriers, we get to deliver all over South Africa. So yeah, please order a signed copy if you're in South Africa. But otherwise, it's literally going to be everywhere, and there'll always be links. So you just search for the book and it will come up there.
Fantastic, man. That is so incredibly exciting.
Thank you so much, Caleb. I'm glad I got through this.
But man, thank you so much, Enricoh Alfonzo.
Enricoh Alfonzo.
You could literally be a rapper from the 90s with a name like that.
You're Caleb T. I'm literally going to be calling you Caleb T. Let's make our own song, man.
I really do appreciate you taking time out of your evening to let me interview you. It really does mean the world to me.
Ditto. I appreciate you taking out the time in your evening to interview me. So thank you, man. And thank you for the love for my book. I really appreciate it. And yeah, hopefully I can't wait for you to read it.
So honestly, Enricoh, thank you so much. I had an absolutely fantastic time interviewing you. And guys, with the magic of editing, I got myself the book. Actually, in fact, Enrico sent it over to me. I've been reading this for the last few hours. I've been thoroughly enjoying it. Guys, if you're looking for a good young adult novel, if you're looking for something that, as Enrico said, covers a wide variety of genres, then I would highly recommend you check out this novel. If you are needing anything, you can go down to the description below. I've got the links to absolutely everything there. But you guys are awesome. You are the best. And I hope to see you again in another video. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching that video. I really do appreciate it. If you did and you want to watch more of my content, then quickly subscribe. But I want to let you know about the podcast that I'm busy running over on Zapcast YouTube channel. If you are a content creator wanting to learn, then check out the ABCs of content creation. And if you are a nerd like me, check out the weekly Fundamentals.